Welcome everybody to Too Legit to Crit, a tabletop role-playing podcast hosted by two people who are about as fun as getting paralysed in combat. My name is John Santana.
I'm still Justin. It's not changed.
So, have you ever had one of those combats where you get, like, paralysed the first fucking round?
Yes.
And you just sit there?
It was the... it wasn't paralysed, but it was frightened. And it was the introduction of my character to the group. And the DM had built this encounter specifically for my cleric. So basically we were fighting some wraiths. And they used their fear ability thing that they have, and I failed my saving throw because, you know, I suck at
you. Yeah.
And I spent the entire combat basically feared until about the final round.
Nice. Yeah, you gotta love it when that happens.
It's the best.
In second edition, it's a bit harder to do, to literally take someone out of combat. They've got the incapacitation method, which will work better against lower level things, but against higher level things, they won't. So, you know, a creature that's lower level than you has got a very slim chance of taking you out of the combat.
You underestimate my power.
No, the system is designed for people like you. So, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, not bad, man, not bad. Just working lots and trying to find time to put some stuff together. What about yourself? You've been all good, all gravy?
Yeah, I've been good. Again, quite busy. Just non-stop, really. But, yeah, right in the next part of my homebrew campaign. Woohoo! Still playing the Wednesday, which is... It's getting to a point now where the end is in sight, so things are getting quite lethal.
Okay.
So that's going to be interesting.
I bet.
And yeah, other than that, I've been reading up on Bind.
Yes.
You know, in order to kind of just get a feel for the system and also get a feel for the world that it's set in, so I can write something that would fit in.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to write. That's kind of the thing that I'm banging my head up against now. What to kind of bring to the table.
I mean, knowing you, it's going to be great, whatever you put together. You are quite the talented individual.
Oh man, that's probably the best compliment I've received all day. Thank you very much.
It's the only one you're going to get, so...
I will relish that. I will. Can I have that on my tombstone or something?
Just get it chiseled in.
Just get it chiseled in, you know, just talented individual. No specifying as to what.
No, just in general.
Just talented individual.
If that's not like the ultimate bard like compliment, he's just talented. At what? Yes.
I mean, I would love that if I was actually talented in certain things. I've got no fucking musical ability. I've got no rhythm. I can't draw to save.
No, but you do tell a fantastic story.
I do try. And I do appreciate that. So, yeah, I'm hoping to kind of bring that to Bind as well. And kind of focus on a narrative. And to be honest, lately, most things that I'm writing have had some sort of element of cosmic horror. I'm just really into that lately.
I've noticed.
So I'm thinking that could be it.
I mean, I'm literally looking at like our content shortlist and the watch list, and I would say probably about 50% of it has a kind of Cthulhu-ish vibe.
It is great, though. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm reading his writings now, and you know they're okay.
Not as good as my own, but they're okay.
I mean, you take away the fact that the dude was a horrible fucking person to begin with, but also I've heard criticisms of his actual writing from people who, you know how to write. And they are very accurate, the criticisms. And when you're kind of reading through his stories, they become quite glaring.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the ideas that he had that they've been put forward have started a genre, essentially.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. Like, you might have, and I think this is one of those things where it's really important to take the lesson that you can from it, right? Which is, even if you don't think you can write for shit, you might not be able to write for shit. Put your ideas down on paper, because somebody will like them. And somebody who may be able to write will come along, take your idea, and make it fucking awesome.
Yeah, I agree with that fully. And to be honest, a lot of that is what's prompted this fucking podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quite literally, yeah.
We've just kind of gone, this is what we want to do. This is what we want to put out in the world.
Well, I think it was also a case of, like, we were sitting chatting a lot, and we kind of went, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we recorded this?
True. I think that was the conversation.
Pretty much, yeah.
So yeah, that's been mostly me. I do have some news.
Oh, news.
Some news.
Oh, yes. I saw you made a post in the Facebook group about news.
I did make a post in the Facebook
group.
group.
What is the news? I've actively avoided asking you.
I've struggled. I've carried the burden of this information since I received it. And I was just like, do I tell Justin? I want to tell Justin. I should tell Justin. I can't tell Justin. I went through the entire fucking range of stuff. One of our listeners already knows. Mm-hmm. Well, no, I'm going to correct that. 2 of our listeners already know.
Okay.
One, because they're in a similar position and were able to receive the news at the same time. Insider
knowledge, gotcha.
Yes, and the other one is because I had to tell somebody. So it's like, I gotta tell you, just keep it to yourself. And chances are you've probably interacted with this person and they've said nothing.
Quite possibly.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually bring it up. As long as my brain starts functioning. Okay, so on Wednesday, I got up, as I normally do, early morning, just before I got ready for work. Mm-hmm. I'd normally check my, check my social media. Yeah. I also check the podcast to see if there's been any more listeners, etc., etc. And I also check my emails. Yeah. And I got an email from Kickstarter.
Oh.
Specifically from Black Fag Roleplaying by Kobold Press.
Ooh.
And the title of this email was, "And the winners are."
I'm listening.
So, do you remember when
I do remember.
Subjected my world?
I do.
And you said, I'm sure it'll come to pass. I'm sure you'll get it. And I went, I doubt it. Fucking hell.
Was I right?
Yes, you were.
Yes! Oh, dude, that's so cool. I'm so happy for you, man.
So, out of 600 worlds, they've narrowed it down to 70.
That's sick.
And I saw this email and went, yeah, it won't be a thing. But I just scrolled through the names. I scrolled through the names and the worlds and blah, 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 because there's a massive list of them. And at one point, I just went, wait a minute, I recognize that name.
It's like, I see that name every time I get my ID out.
It's like, okay. And there was a moment where it's like, nah.
Did you think I'd spoofed an email and sent it to you or something?
I did. Not necessarily you, but I did double check the email address. And you know what gets me? Is I did a whole sort of full fleshed out description of a narrative of what this world was going to be. But for the sort of tagline, I just put post-apocalyptic fantasy. So now I've been having a look at this list by all these other people, all these very talented people, and High fantasy capitalism in an industrial revolution setting, with a war between magic and technology and a world with a conscience who wants everyone dead. By the way, that sounds fucking awesome.
It does sound awesome.
That is Sophia by Resu Krebalt. So they're going to be in the same book as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them sound fucking sweet. And it just kind of makes me think, how bad were the ones that didn't get selected for them to pick me?
No, you see, that's where I think you've got too much of a negative opinion of yourself, man. Like, you are very good at this. And I know it's like part of your nature to say you're not and be all modest. Stop it.
It's not modesty, it's genuine doubt.
Stop it.
There's a pseudo-modern electropunk fantasy with a focus on political schemes, urban adventures, and societal imbalance. That is Strand by Jen Sai.
That sounds awesome.
There's some really fucking good ones here. There are some that I'm reading and just kind of go, shit, I wish I'd have thought of that.
Well, again, I think that's one of those things that we can definitely take a look at stuff like this, right? And go, ooh, interesting concept. Never would have thought of that. Yoink.
Now, Terra Obscurus, Rock, Shadow and Plague. Heroes step into the struggle for survival in a subterranean city or explore ruined kingdoms above and unknown depths below.
Dude, these sound so good.
There are a few that have taken my thing of just going, yeah, high fantasy in a sky-high world. Fuck it. That's your brief description.
That'll do.
But yeah, I'm made up, man.
Dude, that's so cool, man. I'm actually so happy for you, dude.
So I spoke to my parents and went, oh, guess what? I'm gonna feature in a book, and they've kind of gone, what?
do you know what's even kind of weirder though? Is it kind of means that you kind of can speak from a position of authority now. You're no longer any of the intros that you've had, because now you have published work in this community.
I don't think I'm going to put published author on my CV just yet.
But it's true. You wrote something and it's published. That's like the definition.
Yeah, fair, but I think it. I'm not going to start taking my laptop to Starbucks anytime soon. Start writing on the next great screenplay.
I had to do that for work the other day.
You are shit. Oh, how did you not want to kill yourself?
I did. I really did. It wasn't Starbucks. It was Costa for a start. So
because that's so much fucking better.
No, it's just closer. But basically, so across the road from me, there's been like an abandoned shop for the last like fucking, I don't know, like 20 years or something stupid. Like, as long as I've lived in Southend, it's been an abandoned shop, right? This has not existed. So much so that there was like a 15, 20-foot tree growing in the middle of the shop.
Fair.
Yeah, proper abandoned. And somebody's now bought it, and they're in the process of like demolition to build something, right? Which obviously means that there's a lot of cutting happening and things underground and piping and cabling and all that sort of thing. And they broke the internet because the exchange for my internet is outside my building and across the road from where they're doing the work. So I had no internet, and I work in IT. I need internet.
That's kind of a prerequisite.
So I had two choices: go spend the day at my parents' house, or go sit in Costa.
What have your parents done for you to choose Costa over them?
Oh, it's not what they've done. It's that they always have something to say, and I'd rather just sit in Costa where I can ignore the world with some headphones on.
Dude, you're a parent. That's what we do.
Exactly. I know from both sides.
I'm a parent and I do it. I've always got something to say.
Yeah, but that's just the way you are.
Yeah, true. What, are you calling me opinionated?
Yes.
How very dare you.
How very accurate of me.
Yeah.
Hey, don't get me wrong, so am I.
To be honest, I think all of our listeners are kind of like, yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think we've kind of crossed that. They've started to know me now.
Oh,
So yeah, that is my awesome news. I'm chuffed. I'm made up, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude. You should be proud. That's really, really big. That's amazing. Dude, that's awesome.
So that's another book I'm gonna have to buy.
Yeah. Add it to the list.
Yeah, we're adding it to the list. So yeah, I'm just waiting for them to get in touch with me over the next couple of weeks to see what happens from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm psyched. I'm looking forward to it.
No, that's actually amazing. Wow, dude.
So speaking of Tales of the Valiant,
loving that segue.
I mean, there has never been a more appropriate segue. It wasn't really a segue; it was just a fucking wedge. So the alpha release is out for $10.
Huh?
$10.
Come again?
It's out for $10.
On Gold Press by any chance?
Yes.
I'm off to go and grab it.
I would appreciate that because you can maybe help. Obviously, backers have got it have got it essentially for free.
Yep.
But anybody can actually go and pick that up now, and it is 170 pages. So it's not a small book. It's
that's a chunk of book.
There's a bunch of classes in there. I think about four classes.
Yeah, I'm just reading now. Full character creation rules.
All the way up to level 5.
Yeah, so you got powerful fighter options like the Spellblade and Weapon Master, clever rogue options like the Enforcer and the Thief. Also, there's even you've got subclasses as well.
Yeah, you've got subclasses.
More than 70 monsters, including possibly the best name ever, the Crimson Jelly. That
just sounds sexual. That just sounds like a seedy strip joint.
That's what I mean. It just sounds. It sounds like somewhere like some kind of tavern that a bard would go.
What's with
Crimson
the
Jelly
dunking
again, isn't he?
Dunking on bards this episode.
Because they, as we covered in the last episode, they've ruined monks for me.
It's not the bard's fault.
I mean, it is. They didn't exist; it wouldn't happen.
I actually went down memory lane the other day and did a blog post about Nahash.
I saw.
I was like, oh,
good old
man,
Nahash.
I miss him.
He was fun.
He was a dick. Just every opportunity he could have.
But never to my character.
No, but Couch's character, yes.
Oh, you mean the Cleric of Saran Wrap?
Cleric of Saran Wrap.
Oh, I love that joke has transcended that game and is now just a universal joke amongst us.
But my aversion to Sarenrae has as well.
Yeah, same.
In every game that I've played, and there's been a priest or cleric of Sarenrae, I have fucking tortured them.
Yeah. No. I've been exactly the same. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it was just that was our introduction to the God Botherer cleric, right?
It was so. I mean, especially in Rune Lords, one of the players was playing a cleric of Sarenrae, and they went to a bigger city, and he went and found a temple. And I think it was part of his backstory, this person in this temple, and I just made her the most fucked up person ever. He'd walk in and she'd doing bumping lines of coke off a toilet seat and shit like that. And it carried on into Abomination Vaults. And I think the joke peaked when they walked in and the priestess was there enjoying a donkey show.
That's amazing.
And after that I stopped because it's I'm not going to get any funnier than that.
Yeah, no,
that's as funny as I'm going to get with this. So I just stopped the joke.
Oh, that's actually quite funny. But yeah, so $10.
Yeah, that's good, man.
I can confirm. I've got the screen open. $9.99 for the PDF right now.
Well worth it. Yeah. Well fucking worth it.
I will be picking that up with my tax rebate that I just got.
No, at least you get one. I don't.
It was good. I bought furniture. I'm gonna try.
Oh, nice.
It's weird. I don't like it. There was a time where it was tax rebate to the pub. Now it's tax rebate to IKEA.
Well, to be honest, in a recent windfall that I got, my first instinct was MacBook.
Dude, we're getting old.
Dude, if I can afford computers, I will always buy fucking computers.
I mean, I can't comment.
Regardless of age.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 PCs in my immediate vicinity.
I've got 3. 2 of them I use. The other one is an old laptop where I've got a Linux system booted up on.
Yeah.
And then I've got a cloud book which I've given to my son for his homework. But
Nice.
I need to stop. And spend money on productive things like tabletop role-playing games.
Yes.
Which part of my windfall also went onto all the books on Pathfinder Nexus.
I mean, valid point.
That's for posterity. That's a wise purchase.
Well, speaking of wise purchases, see, this
Nice.
is how you do a segue.
That was sexy.
Here is a purchase that was not wise. So, right? Did you see that segue? It was good.
That
right?
was not only a segue, but it was a twist.
Right, a segue with a twist.
Yeah, nice.
It's like one of them hoverboards. So just before the first lockdown, right, way back when, before the plague, Hasbro bought a film studio, right, E1, or Entertainment One, if we're doing its full title. It was not a wise purchase because obviously COVID happened. Nobody went to the cinema. No money was made on films during that period, really. And then cinemas reopened, yay! But nobody went. So sales as a whole have never really recovered. So they are selling off E1 globally, but they've closed the theatrical operations in the UK.
Do you think the real reason they're selling is it because it sounds too much like D&D 1?
Possibly.
It's like, no, we've got to get rid of that name.
And that would be a great theory if they hadn't put it up for sale over a year ago. So they initially put it up for sale back in November last year. So not quite over a year ago, but about a year ago. So, but yeah, no, they put it up about a year ago, and apparently Lionsgate is the front runner to buy out the other half because they own it alongside Hasbro. So apparently they're looking to just buy it out outright. But we don't know whether they're going to match the $4 billion. I'll say that again, $4 billion with a B dollars that Hasbro paid to buy it just before lockdown, only to see it not make any money. So yeah, bad investment.
It cannot have helped. The D&D movie didn't perform up to expectations, and despite my aversion to all things wizards, from what I gather from critics and all that, it didn't perform as well as it should have.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, as you know, and as everyone that listens knows, I'm big on D&D. I haven't even seen it.
No, apparently, like all.
And
the
I can
reviews,
see the cinema from my window.
but all the reviews apparently glare. But they're really, really good reviews, really positive.
Apparently, it's everyone I know that's seen it said it was a really good film. They really enjoyed it. People that play D&D enjoyed it. People that don't play D&D enjoyed it. I just think I think as a whole, the cinema in the UK has just not recovered. The box office is down 30% from pre-COVID. It's just never recovered.
True, but you've also got, and it also has to be said, it opened at the same time as fucking Mario.
Yeah. Oh, that didn't do well though, did it?
Mario, no.
that was another thing that was bad money spent.
but I mean, they've still got it playing now. It's fucking ridiculous the amount of money that made.
Haven't seen it.
No, I mean, my kids have, and they said it was fantastic. And, it's made all the fucking money.
Yeah.
And,
Nintendo always make money.
Opening alongside that's a David and Goliath battle, if there ever was one.
Absolutely. I mean, and let's be honest, like, Nintendo could slap you in the face, charge you 50 quid, and people would do it with a smile. I don't know how Nintendo get away with half the stuff they do.
Nintendo could give me £2.50 and slap me across the fucking face.
Exactly. Yeah, you could, like, yeah, you would do pretty much anything to get slapped across the face. You enjoy it. But anyway, we digress. We digress. Yeah.
With a Mario shaped dildo.
So yeah, that was back on topic. That was a terrible investment. So money poorly spent from Hasbro on that one.
But then again, let's be honest, Hasbro, it's a case of, yeah, this didn't work out. Well, let's sell it and buy another one.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm fairly certain that won't be the last we see of them having some kind of studio.
No, definitely not. It is a huge multinational company. So they'll delve back into movies at some point. Mm-hmm. All the licenses they've got, or could potentially have once a certain number of years kind of run out. Yeah, it's they'll be back.
They'll be fine.
They'll be fine. So another bit of news in corporate restructuring, which is a bit closer to home, because the owner of and creator of this RPG is a friend of mine.
Oh.
He's a local boy.
Interesting.
But Dragon Turtle Games no longer have the Carbon 2185. So I don't know the specifics. I do know that I was a backer for something that they put out. Mm-hmm. And because of COVID and because of downsizing, it kind of ran into a lot of trouble. Yeah. To the point where, unfortunately, a vendor at Dragon Meet in London was harassed by fans.
That's never good.
Which fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Fans out there, fucking do better. That's the point of that. But anyway, so yeah, been getting updates like constantly as backers, and I don't know whether it is. I think from what I can tell, it's going to be a bit of a restructuring. So they're essentially not going to publish Carbon 2185 under Dragon Turtle Games. It's going to be published under its own sort of wing.
Okay. So it's not going away, it's just been shuffled about.
I do believe so, from what I can tell. It actually brought me to a point, because you were saying that you were interested in Cyberpunk.
Yes.
It is a 5e Cyberpunk system.
Yes, I just read that.
And the other day when you were saying that, for some reason, it didn't even fucking occur to me that I actually have this core rulebook and expansions for something that you would be very fucking interested in.
I thought you were my friend.
Sorry, buddy.
It's all right. I'll just steal them off you later. It's fine.
The PDFs.
Okay, fine. Email them to me later.
No, that's copyright infringement.
No, I know. To be honest, they were saying that they're running a sale at the moment, so I might just go and yoink myself a copy.
From what I can tell, it is really good. They've got
Oh, the core rulebook's only a tenner. Score.
There you go, tax rebate. So I bought furniture and books.
Or I could get the actual book for $22.50.
That's actually good. I might even.
It would be rude not to. Yeah, it's normally £45. It's down to $22.50.
That's really good. I might even purchase that.
And then you can get the mission books for level 1 to 7 for £7.50. Oh, I might just buy a cheeky little. All of them.
No, I mean, it is a really solid system. I think it won a prize at some point. It's been a while since I've kind of looked it up, to be fair. But yeah, I think it did win a prize at one point.
I will definitely be purchasing that after we have finished with this recording.
Yeah, definitely worthwhile. And, maybe if you like it, we can get the creator on the show.
Yeah, that'd be pretty interesting, actually.
I think he may even be in our Facebook group.
Ooh, very interesting.
I'll have to check afterwards.
If he's not, invite him.
Fucking better be.
But speaking of creators, you see another amazing segue. I'm good at these, right? I'm good at these. Renegade Studios have launched a tabletop role-playing game survey. That was a bit of a mouthful for some reason. I don't know why. Now, they say it's a 5-minute survey. However, I did it for 5 minutes and I got through the first page and I thought, oh great, it's a 5-minute survey. There's 6 pages. I was only through the first page. So either I'm very slow or it's not a 5-minute survey.
Do you think they lied to us?
Possibly. There is also the possibility that I'm just slow.
Well, I was trying to make you feel better.
It's far more likely. But what they're trying to do, and it's clear from the questions what they're trying to do, is they're actually trying to get a better understanding of what we, the community, want and are looking for in our games and what we prefer, how we prefer to play. So the kind of questions they're asking are like, how do you prefer to access your tabletop role-playing game content? Do you prefer physical books, PDFs, online subscriptions, a little bit of both? Like, they're basically asking us the questions of like, how do you actually want to partake in this hobby? Do you play in person? VTTs? What VTT do you use if you use one? They're asking all of those kind of questions. They're also asking about like what type of setting you enjoy, how regularly you play, how long you've been playing. They're just like, it genuinely feels like they're trying to get a handle on the community as a whole and where we are hoping to get some new content. And I'm hoping that they're going to use that. Apparently, they're going to make the whole thing public, the findings that they get from the survey, which would be pretty cool. Which means that we should hopefully get a lot of studios using that to try and maybe plug a few gaps that we want as a community, which would be awesome.
No, that would be awesome, to be honest. And I think it's something that's now necessary, because the landscape of this community over the past 10 years has changed drastically. Yeah. And I think just touching base with the players and GMs and just kind of going, right, okay, we just want your feedback. If we conclude that everything is as it was 10 years ago, fucking fine, but at least we're asking. So I think it is hugely important to do that, and the fact that they're making it public, I think's even better, because like you said, maybe other studios will use that information.
Or even not necessarily other studios, but like individuals, right? So like we spoke about the guy that created the Carbon 2185, right? He's a local guy to us, and he's created the system and stuff like that. Same as for Bind, right? That was an indie project that's amazing, and cannot stress enough how amazing it is. But like, it also opens the door for indie like developers to look at it and go, there's a gap that I'm actually quite interested in as an individual myself. Maybe I could write something for it, because they know that there's going to be a market for it.
Yeah, that's hugely important as well, because a lot of times we get so many different systems which all kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
Which, initially that was kind of my aversion to D&D back in the day, because it was, okay, I've got a fantasy system that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Why am I going to invest in another one? Then it kind of turned out that they were all bastards, and, I was right. But that's beside the point.
Not go that far.
No, but still,
I absolutely agree with you on that, though. Because I had a similar thing, but the other way, right? Because obviously we were introduced to the whole hobby playing Pathfinder, and I think the issue that I had with Pathfinder is the ease in which you could stack stuff together and get something really broken really quickly, right? So I really fell in love with 5e because you couldn't do that as easily. And I think it was because like I had a bit of a bad experience early on with power gaming and some meta gaming and from various people. So I wanted something that didn't have those elements to it, which is why I fell in love with 5e. But you didn't really have that, so you stayed with it. And I think it's just that that personal experience made it different to the point where we fell in love with them for different reasons.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, we kind of diverged at that point. And, and I think it's the same for you. You've got a fantasy system that works for you, that you enjoy. Yeah. So that's why you don't really pay much attention to anything that's going on regarding Pathfinder.
Yeah.
And it's the same.
What have got you for?
Exactly. And that's kind of any D&D related stuff I just hand over to you, because it's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I have no clue.
I have no fucking clue. At one point, I was trying to build a 5e campaign, and I got sick, and I decided to just make a Pathfinder campaign instead.
If I'm being perfectly honest, you can literally build a campaign in either one, just leave out the specifics, because I guarantee you there's something similar in both.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I've done it.
It was so easy to kind of take one thing and apply it to another.
Yeah.
It was absolutely...
it really is.
The amount of times I get those free 5e modules, and I just quickly translate them to
change
Pathfinder.
that to that stat, change that to that stat. Job done.
Just all I do is basically read the story, and then everything else I do on my own.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so this is a room with treasure. Let's build a treasure trove. Yeah. Here I've got an encounter. What aberrations? I've got aberrations in my bestiary. So yeah, well, we kind of went way off topic with that.
We did.
But
that's
so
fine.
I think we should travel back on topic.
Yes.
Because Classic Traveller, the facsimile edition, is now free to download.
That was a pretty good segue. I'm not
gonna lie. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
I'm a little bit pissed I didn't think of it.
But yeah, Traveller, I've mentioned it a few times on the show.
You have, yeah.
Traveller is... I think it was probably the second system I tried, and I only tried it for one session, but just the character creation thing was so fucking fun. I ended up being a millionaire doctor.
Love it.
It made the rest of the game so straightforward. But it was quite a good system, and I did enjoy it, and I wouldn't mind having another go. So I have actually downloaded these free rules. I think it's just like an SRD, just a very, very stripped out version.
There's also a very cool Kickstarter relating to that I'm looking at that has not launched yet, but I'm intrigued. It's going to be a Kickstarter for the 3D printable STL files for the small craft of Traveller.
Ooh.
So I might print a few of those if you're going to be running it at some point, and we'll actually have the ships to play with.
Yeah, definitely. We may have to... We won't add it to the list yet, because I think we've got enough on the list.
Yeah, we need to actually get through some of the stuff on the list before we add more to it.
We need to start picking dates and games and whatnot. I may have found someone to run the first adventure of the Tales of the Valiant Alpha playtest.
Oh, lovely.
I will tell you more about that a bit later on.
Yes.
So I'm not going to read the story just in case. But yeah, so if you're interested in Traveller, you can go download that. You're thinking of another segue, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm all out of segues. My segue's out of battery. Yeah.
Well, kind of sounds like you need to be renewed. Maybe almost as if you need a second edition. Fantasy Age, second edition.
I'm gonna apologize to everyone out there that just hard rage quit the podcast there and then. This is a public apology. I'm sorry for that segue. It hurt me as much as it hurt you.
Well, you know what you could have done?
Done it myself.
Exactly.
But
all
yes.
Right. So this is something that I think is more your wheelhouse, isn't it?
Yeah, Fantasy Age is really cool. I like it.
Yeah, so Green Ronin Publishing have released Fantasy Age 2nd edition.
Yes, I am very intrigued by that because I've played a lot of other games that are based around the Fantasy Age uh, systems where it's 3d6 etc etc. Um, and I will be very intrigued to have a look at this one. It also looks like for those of you out there that like a VTT, like someone else that is in here right now with me, they've included in the PDF stuff to go on Roll20 and similar VTTs.
That's pretty cool.
So it comes with tokens pre-built into Roll20 if you buy the PDFs and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Sweet. So does it say anything about any possible changes, any updates?
So it looks like they've kept a lot of the same sort of things. So stunting was a big part of the system. So the way the system works, or at least the first edition, I haven't obviously read this one yet, so I don't know. But it was 3d6, and one of those dice would be like your stunt dice. Now, different systems that were using it would call that dice a different thing. Like the Dragon Age system calls that one your dragon die, etc., right?
Yeah.
But essentially, if you roll triples, right? So if you roll 3 6s, 3 4s, 3 1s, whatever, or even I think it's doubles. I can't remember the specifics. Basically, if you roll doubles or triples, then whatever number is on your dragon die or your stunt die or whatever it is in the particular version of the system you're playing, you can then perform something off of the stunt table up to that value, right?
Yeah.
So it's really cool things like you can reposition or knock prone or just loads of different like really cool things to change combat. So like some of the ones they've given in the examples here is you've got the mage stun battle magic. So for 2 stunt points, you may follow up your spell with an arcane blast as an immediate free action. So you just get a little bit of extra mage, boom. A warrior stunt for 3 stunt points is you blow your injuries. Your blow injures one of your foe's appendages. Wow, I can't read today. And they take a -3 penalty to tests that use it until your next turn. So like you can hurt their legs. So any kind of movement, if they want to try and like escape a fireball or something like that, they're rolling at a -3 penalty. Which when you're rolling 3d6 is a huge number, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's if you do it to a leg, which was the example I chose at random, they also get a -5 penalty to speed. So it's all these little things that just like augment combat. And it's also usable. Like they have like a mage stunt table. They've got a like a role-playing stunt table. So there's different stunt tables for different elements of the game as well. So even if you're in like a situation where like you're rolling to persuade someone, right, and you stunt, then you've got stunts relating to that interaction. So it's really, really cool system, and I actually kind of like it. And I wish there was ways to incorporate it in like a D20 system, but it's a little bit trickier because obviously you don't have those different dice to trigger it and stuff like that. But it's a bit like a crit table, I guess, a crit success.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was kind of reminded of. Not necessarily a crit table, but for example, in the Cypher system, if you roll I think it's 18, 19, or 20, you get an additional effect.
Yeah.
And instead of being predefined in the Cypher system, it's kind of left up to like a discussion between the GM and the player. So obviously in 18, the effect would be pretty minor. Yeah. 19 a bit bigger, and then a 20 would be like a major effect. And that there's no predefined things, but I do get that people sometimes need inspiration.
Yeah, so these are predefined in that there's a table, but the tables are quite large, and they're very much just they are guidelines that you can then elaborate on with your DM, right? So like the hitting of an appendage, it just says you hit an appendage and you injure it. It's up to you and the DM to decide like how that works and all that sort of thing. But also you can do as many of them as you can afford with your stunt points. So if you roll 6s, right? Yeah, you've got 6 stunt points. So you could do 3 2 stunt point stunts. So you can use or even like if you've got something that costs you 1 stunt point, you could do 6 of those. Right, but you can only do one of one thing, so you can't like do the injuring thing twice, if that makes sense.
You can like multiple effects. Okay, so I'm gonna injure your arm and you're bleeding, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Does sound interesting. It's not really one that's kind of hasn't really cropped up on my radar all too often until we kind of started doing this podcast.
I think you'd actually really enjoy it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I might actually pick that rule book up, and if I do, I will definitely run it for you, because it's the kind of system that someone like you, I think, would thrive in, because when you get those stunts, there's so much. It basically encourages the role play elements, because you then can tell the story of how that stunt happens, right?
Yeah.
So even if it's something like a reposition in combat, right? So you get, like, I don't know, 2 stunt points, you can reposition yourself in combat. You can then narrate that, like, oh yeah, I do a flip over this way and I land behind them, or whatever, like however you want to stylize it, right? So it's pretty cool from that element, and I definitely think you would really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in running it. We can add that to the list if you want.
Oh, it's not expensive. Well, that's the PDF. I'd rather buy the actual book.
What's our list looking like now, anyway?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. I mean, one of those is food, but 6 things.
Yeah, but it's still a thing.
We'll put it on the list.
Yeah,
Because I'm definitely buying that. It's just I might wait for the physical copy rather than the PDF.
Yeah, we've got some Cloak and Dagger.
Mm.
We need to revisit that at some point,
We
because
definitely do.
That does sound kind of fun. Then what was that one we were talking about, which was basically a horror but in the corporate environment? I can't remember what the fuck that was called.
Oh, it's going to bug me now.
But I mean, I could basically just remodel Delta Green for that. To be fair,
I'm sure one of our listeners will let us know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm just having a look at past content now.
I'm just having a quick read through of. It looks like Cloak and Dagger like absolutely smashed its target.
Did it?
It got 577 backers, pledged $9,203.
Gee, that's
pounds, even not dollars. Pounds.
Yeah, but I mean, holy shit!
Yeah, their goal was 2,500. They smashed it.
So 500. What was it? How many backers?
577.
And they raised over $9,000.
Over $9,000, 9,203. Yeah,
That's every backer's putting in, quite a bit.
Oh, I'm a little bit upset I didn't pledge 30 for it. You get a gilded book and the PDF.
Too late.
Yeah.
But estimated delivery 2023.
Yeah. And that it was last updated a week ago.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah.
Well, we'll just have to wait for the PDF to come out and pick that up.
I'll probably buy the actual book, to be honest. I prefer the actual books to PDFs. I have a big bookshelf. I need to fill it.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm just having a look, seeing what the basic system is. Can't find it.
So.
No, I can't see that. Anyway, sorry. Yes, I was going down a rabbit hole. Need to stop.
Well, instead of going down a rabbit hole,
Mm-hmm.
shall we head over to the couch?
Yeah, couch is quite busy today.
Yes, he told me he sent in a lot, and I think we should space that out.
Yeah, we're going to space out. There's also someone else who sent in a few questions.
Yeah,
we're also gonna space out.
So I got 2 questions in. One is actually relating to stuff we've already spoken about, so I think we should do that one first.
All right.
Because you did back the Tales of the Valiant project, did you not?
I did, yes.
So this question comes from Sci-Fi. Again, thank you for another amazing question. He asks, well, he says, I've not played D&D for many years. It does appear to be fairly close to D&D from some of the behind the curtain boxes. Do we feel that it has addressed some issues, or is it too early to say?
For me, Far too early to say because I wouldn't know. Honestly, I'm that clueless about D&D that I've read it. I've read it. I've gone flipped through the alpha release, and it does seem to me like D&D. You know, and one of the classes, the cleric. Let's see if I can find it. Actually, I've got it in my books. It actually kind of points out some of the changes.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
But it only does it for the cleric. Doesn't do it for the fighter. Doesn't do it for the...
Do you think that's maybe because it's alpha release and they maybe haven't finished those other classes yet?
Quite possibly. Quite possibly. Let's have a look. Cleric and gods. Cleric quick build. Okay, so behind the curtain, reworking the cleric. So this section covers the changes made to the cleric base class as it appears in 5e and some clarifications around the choices made. So first of all, the cleric subclass is now chosen at 3rd level instead of 1st. This accomplishes several goals. It standardizes class progression so players can achieve important milestones as a group.
Yeah.
It better spreads out round cleric class features so players have more time to master base cleric abilities before introducing more complex options at higher levels. And it makes 3rd level more exciting.
I quite like that. Oh, my voice went really weird there. I quite like that change, actually. And I'm well aware that that's staying in.
What, your bollocks dropping?
I really like that change, though. I think that's good. You know, the fact that it's something that's actually always kind of bugged me in D&D, and this is going to sound like such a cop-out, but in one D&D, in air quotes, because that's not what it's called. It's just called D&D.
It's one D&D. It's going to be called one D&D.
They seem to be addressing. They seem to be addressing those same issues, right? So they are balancing out when classes are getting their power spikes, and they are trying to address those same issues of when they get their subclasses and things like that. So it's definitely something that's been highlighted in 5e as being a problem, and it seems that not only have they obviously seen that and tried to address it, but even Wizards have seen that and gone, yeah, we fucked up there. But yeah, so I think if they've gone through and kind of fixed things like that throughout the system, that's going to be really good, because that's a lot of stuff that 5e players have been complaining about that needed addressing, basically, because it speaks to balance. And that is one of the questions that actually was in that survey from Renegade Studios that I mentioned earlier, is about, like, is balancing of classes important to you in the game? Games that you play, and I feel it is, because you don't want to kind of be shoehorned into not playing a specific class or playing a specific class because there's just no benefit to playing them, or it'd be stupid not to play them, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of like we touched on with Monk last week, with monks being completely overshadowed by the new bard subclass. Why would you play a monk? If you want to play a monk, you just play the bard, because you get all of the monk with bard.
Yeah,
like, it's a free multi-class. So I think balance is very important, and if they've started to address those balance changes, then that's going to be really good. But I would say it's also a little bit too early for me to say, because I've not even read it yet, but I look forward to playing it, and then we will be able to give you a proper answer to that one in the future, I'm sure.
So another change that's happened to the cleric is the manifestation of faith. It's a new 1st level feature that allows a cleric to gain additional proficiencies or enhance the power of their spells, depending on whether you want to play a more warrior-like or miracle worker-like cleric. So, Manifest Might, you gain the proficiency with heavy armor and martial weapons. Additionally, you gain the ability to infuse your weapon strikes with divine energy.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So you can lean into like a war priest or a healer.
Yeah,
like,
it does sound like Pathfinder's War Priest in 1st edition. And on the other hand, you can manifest miracles, where you learn an additional cantrip, and it counts as a divine... sorry, I'm going to make that even... clarify that. You learn one additional cantrip of your choice from any circle of magic.
Ooh,
This cantrip
that's powerful.
Yeah, this cantrip counts as a divine cantrip for you, but it doesn't count against the number of cantrips you know. Additionally, you can add your PB, proficiency bonus, I'm guessing.
Proficiency bonus, yeah.
To the damage you deal with any divine cantrip.
I'm excited to play this now. This sounds really good.
Yeah, what else? Also, Channel Divinity. Turn the Profane has replaced Turn Undead. Turn the Profane works the same way, but it affects undead and now fiends.
I like that change because Turn Undead was so oddly specific that if you're playing in a campaign where there's no one dead, then it's just a pointless.
It's a waste, yeah.
Yeah. So I like that they've added the fiends because there's so many things that have the fiend like tag.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a good change. So yeah, by the sounds of it, they've taken on a lot of the like community feedback and gone, right, we need to change those elements specifically. That's really good, and I'm now even more excited than I was to play it.
Yeah, and just kind of going through, I can't really find. I mean, for example, for the fighter subclass, they've got the Spellblade and the Weapon Master. Rogue, have they done any? See, none of the other classes, Wizard, have they added like a footnote to say this is where we've changed stuff. However, what I have noticed, go back again. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, right? And this is kind of going on my my limited knowledge of 5e.
Yeah.
When you get to a certain level, you can choose between an attribute bump,
Yep.
or a feat.
Yes.
I don't think that's the case here.
Okay.
After level 1, so basically hit points and hit die proficiencies. I'm not entirely. I can't see anything regarding.
Should be about level 4 is what it is in 5e.
Yeah, I can't see anything about attribute bumps, but I think you just get talents for your class.
Okay.
Your class goes up in thingy, and you start getting talents, I think, at 3rd level when you kind of choose your subclass. So I think you just get them.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know how that's going to fully work. I really do need to kind of.
Yeah, so I guess the main reason for those, those ASIs, your ability score increases, is to progress your character, right? But if those talents are going to give you bumps and specific things, I feel like that actually might be a better way of showing character progression, right? Because if you're, maybe trying to be a bit of a pickpocket or something like that, right? You're not going to get naturally dexterous at everything dexterity based. You're going to get specifically good at pickpocketing.
Yeah.
So a talent that would give you, essentially, those are like your feats, right? The talents, because it's going to give you a specific bump in a specific situation that you've actually been practicing or training or whatever. I actually think that might be a better way of handling it, if I'm being completely honest, which hurts me to say. That somebody's doing it better than the system I love. But
I mean,
if they're doing it right, they're doing it right. So.
You've got to remember that 5e is still almost 10 years old now.
Yeah.
So, and Cobalt Press has been dealing with 5e for all that time.
All that time, yeah.
So
they know it inside
They've had
out.
plenty of time to kind of go, that could work better. That could work better. So, in a way, it's going to be objectively better.
Yeah, and I think it's, as long as they haven't changed stuff that worked well, or if they've changed something that didn't work well to make it work well, that it's broken something else, I think is the real danger of doing those sorts of changes.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be more interested to kind of hear your opinion on it when you get the book.
Yeah.
Because obviously you coming from a 5e background, you're going to have more insight than I am.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I will hopefully be purchasing that shortly, and I'll have a read through of it this week.
Cool. Right. Okay. So, thanks for the question, Sci-Fi.
Mm-hmm. Another great one.
Okay. So, My next question is from Chris, who is coming to us from Why Do You Want to Know?
That's such a Chris answer.
And his question is, what part of the hobby do you wish you could witness or experience again for the first time?
Oh, that's a good one. I think it would have to be the first character death I witnessed.
Okay, elaborate.
Well, I think at the time I didn't really think too much of it, but looking back at it now, it was such a really cool thing, right? The way it was done, the way it was handled, and everything like that. It was really, really cool. And I didn't realize it at the time because I didn't have the experience that I have now. So I think I would like to go back to that moment so I could appreciate it properly in the moment, if that makes sense.
Okay, so what was the character death?
It wasn't even my character. That's the funny thing. It was. I can't even remember. Like, again, this is what I mean. Like, I wish I could go back to it because I can't even remember it properly. But it was a combat encounter, and essentially there's this dude, like, he basically it wasn't even a group that I was familiar with. I was just kind of joining in for one session, and a dude died trying to save somebody else's life. So it was like that classic moment of like, I'll lay down my life so you guys can escape type thing.
Okay.
And at the time I was like, oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. But I just kind of like glazed over it because like the way it was handled by the DM, the way it was handled by the player and everything like that was just a really cool moment. But I just didn't have the appreciation at the time because I didn't realize how big of a moment that was. Because I think at the time as well, I was still very much, I'd come out of our Pathfinder campaign where by the time I left, nobody had died, right? We didn't have any character deaths yet. And there was so I didn't have like that attachment to anything or anyone that was brought to an end through anything other than me moving away. So I think, that it would have to be that for me, going back to that first character death moment, so I could truly appreciate it properly.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. I'm trying to think of the first one I witnessed, the first character death I witnessed. Whether that was
yours.
it might well have been, and that's kind of what I'm struggling with. But that was a good character death.
Well, I heard about it. It sounded very good.
Fucking overkill. But in terms of the question, it's quite ironic because my answer actually involves the person who's asked the question.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the Skulls and Shackles campaign kind of fell by the wayside, but. The question asker, Chris and Couch, I basically like split off from the adventure path, and I created essentially what was my first homebrew. So as you recall, Skulls and Shackles, piratey, swashbuckling, we're on a ship, blah blah blah.
Awesome.
So what I kind of did was just go batshit insane with it. That they would get access to a planar traveling skiff. Ooh. That would be able to fly and travel the planes.
That sounds amazing.
Now, during this, even before they actually got to that point, they rescued a halfling. Mm-hmm. Right? And to cut a long story short, because this went on for session after session after session, that I had this halfling was the big bad evil guy. Right?
Nice.
But in disguise.
Yeah.
And I think it was a she. She wanted something very specific. And to that, she had done something to Chris's character's father in order to lure them in and use them and manipulate them into getting what she wanted.
Oh, that's so good.
And I kept this ruse up for a long time, months. And I was paranoid with the sort of information I was giving them.
Yeah, that they figure it out.
And I would make little interactions with this halfling so that when everything was revealed, they could look back at those interactions and see them in an entirely different light.
Oh, I love those kind of things.
Like at one point, they are trying to escape and she's trying to do something regarding the father. And I think the words I used was, you either do this or everybody dies.
Yeah.
And in the moment, that was taken as, yeah, if this doesn't happen, they're going to kill us.
Yeah, everyone's going to die because of that.
When the truth was revealed, it was, you do this or I'll kill everybody.
Yeah.
And that things like that, there were so many things like that. And I will always remember the day the penny dropped for Chris. He was fucking spitting. Because they were away from the halfling, away from the character's father. They were on another mission which tied in. And there was a revelation towards the end of that mission where Chris's character goes, can you just describe this person? I went, oh yeah, she was a halfling. Chris screamed down the microphone, calling me a fucking cunt and all, on all this. And it was so satisfying. Don't get me wrong, I've pulled bait and switches since.
Yeah,
but nothing
was like that. Yeah.
To that extent. And to be honest, I don't think I ever will again. But, it was so glorious.
Yeah, no, yeah, I can see why that would be a moment you'd want to live again for the first time. That sounds pretty cool.
It was every interaction I'd meticulously thought out so that I wouldn't reveal any information, but at the same time, if anyone were to go back and re-listen, for example, they'd kind of go, what a bastard.
Yeah. So like I love those kind of reveals though, right? Where like I was watching Red Notice. I don't know if you've seen that film with Ryan Reynolds,
yes,
The Rock, and
that's got a lot of twists.
Yeah, but again, that's one of those films, right? That if you watch it again, once you know the twists, you're like, oh, you motherfuckers, you were laying that down the whole fucking time. Like you didn't see it the first time. You're just like, oh, this is a really genuine character that, like, and then like the rewatch you like, you little fucker. No.
I mean, some of the great movies that did that, for example, Fight Club or The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Where you get the reveal at the end and you go back and watch it and just kind of go, how the fuck did I not pick up on this?
Another one I love that's like that is Lucky Number 11. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's a fantastic film.
That really underperformed.
Yeah. I don't know why it didn't do well. It was a great film.
Yeah, I love that. I might actually rewatch that at some point.
Yeah, I'm going to be rewatching it soon. I love that film. But yeah, no, that's a great moment actually. Yeah, no, that's really cool.
So yeah, I hope that answered your question, Chris. We've got another question from you that we will be doing next week. So just to kind of space them out, you said you had another question.
I do. So I'm going to do both of Sci-Fi's locations on this one because I did his questions in a different order than he sent them. So the locations won't make sense if I read them and like with the question that they were attached to.
Fair.
Because the second question was actually relating to something obviously that we had already spoken about, which was Tales of the Valiant. But the first question he sent me was from Vault 168 in a secret bunker somewhere in Essex. Question was sent in Morse code by tapping on a pipe.
Nice, actually, that was good.
The second question he sent in, the location was updated, and he put, location update, have managed to get into an access tunnel, escape imminent. So just wanted to get those both in there. Does
anybody else want to kind of follow that thread?
Right?
Sci-Fi, tell us a story via questions.
But he asks, how much do you change a published adventure or campaign or do you largely run as is? Do you think it important or more fun to have the adventure respond to what the players do?
Oh, I respond to the players to a certain
Mm.
degree.
See, if I'm running something that's published, I try and stick to the published material, but that's mainly because I'm shit at improv, as you well know. So I really struggle to if I've got something written in front of me, I like to stick to what's written in front of me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, essentially that's the idea of published adventures. That you have been given a story, you've been given the encounters, blah blah blah. However, I have a hard time saying no.
I know that.
So that
I blame Scott.
fair point. But when
he never said no.
he never did. And in my homebrew, I roll with it quite easily. In a published adventure, I have to allow them to go off track, but then I kind of have to steer it back.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thought process of, oh, we want to do this. Okay. Even if that requires, okay guys, we're going to call it early. You throw me through a loop. Give me a week to think about this. And then I'm able to send them on a side quest in a way, but I will always try and navigate it
back. Yeah.
Navigate it back.
I might try doing that myself, to be honest, because that was I think as well it depends on how well you know the world that you're doing this published adventure or campaign in, right? Because for example, the first time I ever DM'd something was I was going to be running a Dragon Age campaign, because in the back of the core rulebook they've got a little adventure that you can run, right? So I was going to run that for some people that wanted to play the system, but they didn't really have a lot of experience with tabletop role playing games and things like that. However, they know the world, and I don't really know that world. I don't know much about Dragon Age. I've never played the video games. I've never read any of the books or the lore or anything like that around it, so I don't know the world. And within the first 10 minutes of the first session, one of the players who knows that world back to front, inside out, and I would not want to go up against them in a quiz on that world because I would lose hands down. Was like, I'm going to go this way, and I was like, that's not in the book. No. So I kind of had to just put my hands up at that point and hand the book over to somebody who knows the world just as well as they do, but also happens to be a pretty good DM. Somebody that we both actually know, Tom.
Okay, yeah.
He took over, and then I just played instead of DMing.
That's fair. I mean, in society games, I stick to what's written.
Yeah.
And if a player kind of goes, oh, can we do this? I'll just say, that's not in the scope of the adventure, or I will quickly narrate it. Okay, you do that. You don't get any information. Now what are you doing in regards to this? That's only because they're time limited and time sensitive.
Yeah.
Whereas in an AP, where I've got a lot more freedom, and they want to zig instead of zagging, it's like, yeah, by all means, I'm going to get you back to where you need to be.
Yeah.
But there may be a detour. For example, in Rune Lords, I think it's in book 2, there is a bit of a filler sort of quest, which doesn't really inform much about the story. But it gives players XP, and, they have to deal with certain things that are tangentially sort of related. And my players just went ahead and skipped that.
Yeah.
They went, oh no, we want to go to this place, which was the end of that particular book. It's like, okay, fair enough. Let's do that. But by the time they got back and they'd finished that, I had an NPC tell them, oh, well, all this shit was going on and a load of people died.
Yeah.
Because, essentially you
ignored
weren't
it.
there.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
And, so I will always work under the assumption that the world keeps on turning.
Yeah.
So if they want to go and do something by all means, go for it. But the big bad is not going to sit there waiting. You know, things are going to evolve, and if that means changing some of the book that's coming up, then I'll do it.
Yeah, I think as well, it's also dependent on the players at the table, right? Because I think, again, this is going to go back to, and I say this every time we talk about this sort of thing, it's going to go back to that session zero. You know, when you sit down and you go through, look, this is what I'm, planning to run. This is what it is. This is laying out those expectations. Because if the players go into it knowing, okay, we're running from this book, we're running through that storyline, they're going to be more inclined to perhaps stick to the story beats, right? Because they know that that's what they're getting into when they sign up and say, yeah, I'll play. So I think, I think it really depends on that session zero as well.
That's hugely important. And
I think that's my answer to every question. Session zero.
No, but it is hugely important, and you know, not every GM is the same. Some GMs feel more comfortable with like pre-written stuff. Personally, I find it harder to run pre-written stuff than I do to run my own stuff.
Run your own, yeah.
Just because I'm trying to memorize something that someone else has written.
Yeah, see, and again, I think that's where you and me differ, is because I find that easier than writing my own thing. Because even like when I do write my own thing, so like that campaign that I've been writing for God knows how long at this point now, that I sent you, the start of, a big portion of that was stolen from other campaigns that I've played, and then just kind of like patchworked together to kind of make sense.
Yeah, it does. You know, you're going to borrow from everywhere, so...
I don't know if you noticed, but the entire first like chapter
Skulls
that I sent you,
yes,
the Skulls of Shackles, yeah.
Cool.
I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah, I read it and went, okay.
That's familiar.
I kind of know that bit.
In my defense, Skulls and Shackles was a lot of fun.
Fair play. I am wanting to restart that at some point.
I would love to play that because I left early, didn't I? So I didn't get to finish it.
You did, so I'm thinking of redoing it for second edition
and
just starting again. And our mutual friend, he's got fucking everything for it, so it will be a case of in person, physical props, and the works.
Lovely.
All right, so thank you very much, Sci-Fi, for that one.
Another fantastic question.
Okay, so this next one comes from the chef formerly known as Couch.
The man, the myth, the legend.
The man, the myth, the legend. From never to be found in the pages of a 4th edition D&D rulebook. And he asks, as you spoke a little bit about it, how do you feel on time periods in games? Would you find a certain time period more comfortable than others? What would be your preferred?
So my immediate answer is yes. There are some time periods that I'm just more comfortable in. I feel like any time period where we have a frame of reference today is a lot harder, because people tend to know a bit more about it, right? So if you were trying to run something that was maybe in the 80s, like people were alive in the 80s that would be at that table potentially, right? So if you say something that isn't necessarily correct for the time or didn't come out to like the 90s, or you get what I mean? Like it can be a bit jarring with those sorts of things.
Okay.
Personally, for me, just because I'm weird. Whereas things like, if you go, dystopian future or even further back, like to, fantasy games, like those sort of medieval times, it's a lot harder to have that grasp on the actual time that it's happening. So it's a lot easier to feel like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That would exist. Yeah. Whereas if like you're playing something in the 80s and like, oh yeah, he pulled out his tablet. Like, sorry, what?
On that note, there is actually, I think it's Tales from the Loop. Another system that has to be on the list at some point. It sounds so much fun. But in the preamble to that, it actually goes, okay, so this is set, and I do believe it's the 80s. Here are some reference points. and it gives you lists of stuff. It's like number 1 in 1985, and it'll post a song.
Yeah.
And it is actually really cool. I thought it was a really nice, sweet touch to add.
Yeah, see, for me, those are the sorts of things that I need, because, like, if it's a time period that I'm comfortable with, I would struggle to get invested if things were wrong. But that's just because of the way my brain works, right? If there's something that doesn't feel right to me, my brain just goes, no.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle with... I think the time period I would struggle most with would be sort of like the 1920s, maybe late 1800s, early 1900s. Yeah. They're the sort of ones that I would most certainly struggle with. Anything modern day, yeah, I'll take it. Anything fantasy, anything sci-fi, yeah, I'm up for that. They're kind of my preferred. They're kind of my go-tos. Anything that's like Call of Cthulhu is set in like the early 20s. It's like, yeah, I'd struggle with that. I mean, I played Achtung Cthulhu, which is set during the Second World War. And even that, it was like, I wouldn't be able to run that comfortably. I'd be able to play in it because I just get told about the time period by the GM. But yeah, to run it, I'd definitely struggle. Well, I think that's all we've got time for tonight. I just want to say thank you to Couch, Chris, and Sci-Fi for writing in some fantastic questions. I want to thank Justin for spending some time with me this evening, and more importantly, I want to say thank you to everybody out there listening who's spent some of their valuable time just listening to two idiots waffle on. Check us out next week, and thank you very much.